because we're live. Okay.
Yeah, we're live. And just, to answer those people who claim that we were getting too organised, we've made sure that we're not at all. We don't know where Terry is. We don't know what Kristin's doing because her camera's not working, she claims.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so Terry is off the hook because he already told us last week. Terry is innocent. He told us last week that he wouldn't be able to make it.
I don't know what happened to Virginia or William Rock or Matthew Storms was the other one. But we're here, we're live, and that's all we ever need.
We have the lovely Miss Stephanie.
Woo! Kristin, you're supposed to be on camera with me. Come on. Get your camera working. I can't be the only woman representing. Come on.
Oh, come on. You do a good job at it.
Thank you.
Usually when her camera's not on, it means she's frantically either doing her hair or getting dressed. So I want to let the audience know that Kristin is probably wild-haired and naked right now. That's...
You know me.
Let's put that in the comments and see how many viewers we can attract with that one.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh, boy. I hope Google's not making the transcript of this one.
That'd be too easy.
Well, I have put the live link in the event, so if anyone wants to jump in while we've got the free seats, they can. But let's kick off.
I'm going to jump out and jump back in because I can't stand looking at myself flickering like that.
Okay, Bill.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, we do seem to have some camera issues generally this time around. In that we've got Kristin without a camera and Bill's is flickering. Well, let's do the standard start, but with a difference. Stephanie, what have you been up to the past few weeks?
Oh, no, you're still flickering, Bill. I was going to do a big intro, but it didn't work. Anyway. Oh, you want to see? Okay, so I can show you this just because you'll all appreciate. It's a real live book.
Excellent.
Nice.
Woo!
And the color of money.
And the color of money. Now, I got the proof. So I've been working on the hard copy of my book, is what I've been doing.
Excellent.
And I got the proof. And there's a lot of work to be done still. I thought it was ready, but it's not. But that's okay. Hey, that's what proofs are for, someone told me. But I was excited about that. And then what else am I working on? I've gotten the opportunity to talk to some people at a startup conference next week. No, tomorrow. Oh, my God, it's tomorrow. And, wow, I probably should do some work on that. Don't listen if you're going to the conference tomorrow. I'm totally prepared.
Buy the tickets now.
Well, it's here in town, so I just have to get in my car. As long as I have gas in my car, I'm okay. But, yeah, so I'm doing that. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to 2016. I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on. But
Cool. Well, I think Virginia just joined us. Yeah, there we are. There's Virginia. Hey, Virginia, good to have you.
Hi, Bill.
I love seeing that book, Stephanie. It looks fantastic. It looks $1 million, no matter what actual currency is displayed on the front.
yeah, thank you.
So, Bill, I'm going to leave you till last this week, just for a change. We've got to change things up. People are accusing us of being organised. Virginia, what have you been up to recently? Tell us about your week.
Oh, well, I just...
You're a bit quiet. You might want to check that it's got the right microphone set.
Do you hear me at all?
Yes. And that just got a little bit louder at the end.
Okay, well, I'm yelling. What am I doing? I'm setting up my lower third. Okay, let's say yes. Well, I just put the newsletter out for Bruce Clay Inc., and that's always a lot of fun because we love covering the news and staying in the know, and that's just, I don't know, we're nerds. We get excited about that.
Cool. It must take a while to put everything together. I mean, although you keep up with the news day to day, as you know, anybody that wants to stay at the top of the game needs to do. You've got to have those streams going. You've got to know about it when it comes in. Still, the decision on how to collate and to put all the stuff together, that's got to be a big last minute rush, hasn't it?
Yeah, it takes a few days at the end there, to make sense of everything. So, yeah, I think I hope that it provides value for people who, maybe can't be deep in the industry for, every day, and so that's what we try to do, especially for like clients or people who go to our training, just so that they can get a high level understanding of how changes affect their, decisions and that kind of thing.
Well, I gotta say, I still read that newsletter because I like to keep up with the attaboys and the job changes. Knowing who's been hired by who and where. That's a really useful list. You know me, I like to keep up with what's going on in the industry, and nobody else is doing that, the hires and fires in the same way. And I
It's
think
great
that
feedback.
part is fantastic.
Thanks, Ammon. Yeah.
I'd love to see a page that was kind of, kept up to date of some of the recent ones that, I didn't have to just wait for my email. I could actually look it up from time to time. But wouldn't it be cool to have an SEO's directory that tells you where everyone's working?
Left room. Okay, you have your headphones.
Yeah, I brought them.
And let me try to get you a link. Once you sign in, then you should have a little. So I was just chatting with
colleague in there. I'll put the link in the comments in case they haven't already got it. But
I was just talking to Rob Ramirez, who I invited to join us, so he's excited to do that. He'll be on in a few.
Well, Zara says that she can't join us because she's got some seriously loud leaf blowing going on there, and she'll remain in the peanut gallery. Do you know what? I think that's a euphemism. She's got wind. That's what she's basically telling us. We're really sorry to hear this, Zara. Don't eat the chili beef again. That it has the same effect on me. It really does.
I believe her. I haven't seen a rake since I've moved to Southern California. People love leaf blowers here. They power them up and blow all the leaves all the way down the parking lots of all the buildings. I've never seen so many people so much in love with hot air.
I would, that coast is famous for making playthings out of everything. There has to be a sport that uses leaf blowers. There has to be.
I can imagine having one battery operated and a skateboard, having to propel you down the street. Yeah.
That sounds too easy to steer. I think it's got to be a shopping cart.
I think it's ultimate frisbee. I think it's like the ultimate frisbee on speed, right? So it's like you can't make it too easy for people to catch. You throw it and then you blow it wherever you want it to go.
Yeah,
or
cool. you could have some kind of game where one team has drones and they've got to carry something to the fire, and the other team has the leaf blowers.
But do they have FAA approval, Ammon? Because you can't fly your drone without FAA approval. Let's be clear.
I think it depends on the height, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's something silly like 10 feet or something, isn't it? Or 15 feet?
We're waiting for Amazon and Google to get approval from the FAA to set the rules for us, give us some guidelines. How do we get our
onto something
from Amazon? What?
You're definitely onto something. Drone sports and power blowers, I think.
We like to keep the conversations really relevant to the cutting edge of SEO. Come on, there isn't an SEO office in the world that I've ever seen that doesn't have these ridiculous conversations in their lunch breaks and coffee breaks. It's another side of the fun of the industry. It's a fun crowd, isn't it?
Creative people.
Yes, definitely. So, Bill, what have you been up to this week?
I've been working on playing detective. I've been asked to look into what happened to the Google local carousel and why they stopped theirs and all of a sudden Bing started theirs around the same time. Was it patent infringement? So I'm going to try to find out whether or not it was. Whether
Interesting.
that's
Yeah.
why Google one disappeared. Because I actually liked their local carousel better than what they have now.
What they
With
have
Google,
now
they're
being
always changing stuff, though, aren't they? So I mean, it could be almost anything. But that is an interesting theory, Bill. I'd love to. I'll be keeping up with that one because that hadn't occurred to me that it could be a patent infringement. But you're absolutely right.
What they have now is more like a 3-pack. So a lot of times with extra tabs. So you can like check a tab for price, for ratings. Is it reviews? Do they have reviews in those? They have different tabs on some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them do have reviews, but I think they've kind of been making it harder for companies to get reviews, haven't they?
It seems like they're sort of telling people, don't tell people to get reviews, just get more reviews. Or is it Yelp telling people that?
I don't know, but I tried to do a Google review recently, and it was crazy. I mean, it's always been kind of complicated, but I felt like like they actively didn't want you to use their platform to give a review. It was so complicated. Like you type the whole thing in, their button doesn't work. I refreshed the page. I mean, it took me probably 10 minutes longer to post the review than it did to write the review.
practice conference.
So I have no idea if it's like, do you get the feeling that they're moving away from that they want Google Local to be something different?
I think they're still deciding. I'll see.
Okay.
We've got another one with camera problems. Fabrizio has issues with his camera, so there you go. You're not alone, Kristin.
Yeah. But it does seem that I'm choosing the right one in the setting, but it's just it's not English.
It's okay, mine's flickering like crazy.
Yeah.
Not the right day, for sure.
Yours has been doing that the last couple of times I've seen you on camera, though, Bill. It was doing it last week, so
Really?
it feels more like yours might be a driver issue or conflict. But the others, I've got a funny feeling, wasn't there an update to Chrome recently, so that may have... Dave, let us know in the comments. You're always up on this, Dave Pipe, so if you're in the audience, let us know. But yeah, I think there was...
Windows. And the drivers from the CAM didn't update either. And the CAM is made by Microsoft. So...
Oh, there's why it's gone wrong then.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a Windows issue, should it then? You know.
It should be, right.
But
it most likely is.
I've got to say, Virginia, I love that outfit. It's classic. We got the really smart colour and then the ink showing. I love it. I love the contrast.
Well, thank you. Yes, this is my... I wanted to dress up and look nice for the camera.
You've only done one Bogus Hangout before, haven't you?
Clearly, she's a newbie. If that's how she approached it. I'm wearing sweats, right? So, as is Ammon, I believe.
Well, stylish ones. Hey guys, I'm having trouble inviting Rob. So I'm curious if I don't know if you could send an invite to him or.
Has he added Bill and Ammons to his circles? Because sometimes it does give you issues trying to join a thing if you haven't. Other than that, the link is in the thread, and that should do it. Usually people don't have too much trouble jumping in. I will put the link in the event thread again, so that it's there for everybody. But other than that, we do seem to be having Hangout issues today. There's Robert Ramirez in the audience, so hopefully he will be able to get in. So, Kristin, we can't see you, as we've already discussed. Kristin? We know you're wild-haired and naked then. And obviously Fab is the same way today. What have you been up to the last week? No, she's gone.
She might be.
They can't see me, they won't know.
Exactly, she's wild-haired, naked, and silent. That's what she is. No, none of the men say anything, please. Sorry.
Fab, what have you been up to in the past week? Okay. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean... Oh!
Okay.
You're still muted though, Kristin. There's Robert. Hey, Robert.
Work? Hello.
Yeah, Robert.
Work.
Hey, fresh meat. I mean, a new guest.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Virginia, for getting me to figure this out. I'm a little hangout challenged, I guess.
They like to make it difficult. Google kind of designed this as a kind of cerebral obstacle course.
It's working.
Yeah, they like to, keep us on our toes. Every single day is different.
Yes.
It's a fun journey.
They are a company that's sort of famous for doing experiments. So I guess, sometimes we are the guinea pigs.
I think
they just like to support us, making it the Bogus Hangout. That's what I think.
They certainly do help us in every way with that. Yeah. So, Robert, since you're brand new here, tell us a bit about yourself.
I am the SEO manager at Bruce Clay Inc. I've been, doing digital marketing for well over 10 years now, doing SEO proper, I guess you could say, for the last 10 years or so. It's great to talk to both of you. I've been reading Bill's SEO by the Sea for many years now. Ammon, I always appreciate your input and your insights in internet marketing. So this is really cool.
Usually I just come up with curmudgeonly things to say and scare the newbies off a bit. Get off my lawn! We've got Dave Pipe in the audience. Don't talk to me about Windows Update, Ammon Johns. The latest lot for Windows 8.1 bombed my lappy. Looks like I'm going to have to install them one at a time again until the culprit shows up. The weird thing is that the lookup phrase that relates to a video driver problem, yet none is a video driver update. Yeah, it's Microsoft are almost as much fun as Google, aren't they, for just throwing new things at us? And between the two of them, when you've got Microsoft Windows and Chrome, you're in for a wild ride. But thanks for the update, Dave. So, Kristin, now that you're back, what have you been up to the past week?
You're still muted.
And frozen.
No?
Someone needs to sing "Let It Go" at this point. That's what needs to happen.
It's the Kristin Drysdale slideshow. I'm sorry, I'm almost fascinated by it now. See.
There she is. Woo! Okay.
Oh no! It muted me again.
No, we can hear you.
But you're frozen. Like.
Yeah. See, you first did Frozen. Now we've got that scene from Titanic.
That's right. Poor Kristin.
Let's hope it's not a sinking ship. So, even at 10 years, Rob, you must have seen so many changes over that time, and yet, do you find the same thing I do? I mean, SEO change is the norm. Change is what we expect. So, although everyone goes on about, you know, how much things change, it's funny how much of the core stuff stays the same. A lot of the principles that, you know, Bruce was talking about 15 and 20 years ago are still the same. It's still the same users. They're still wanting the same kind of things, and that much of it hasn't changed. So, you're muted.
There we go.
It's a learning curve.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, no, I totally agree. And you know, it's interesting that as so much changes at the heart of it, right? What we do is really consistent and kind of at the end of the day, making sites more usable, making them more searchable, making them more user friendly is kind of at the heart of what we're trying to do for our clients. And yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess you can say. But at the same time, you know, when you're looking at the algorithm and the types of things that are happening on a daily basis, it seems like there's new insights and new things to consider by the hour almost.
Yeah, yeah. And besides which, I mean, you could fill an entire diary with just how often SEO has been dead over the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is one of those classic things. I don't think a week has ever gone by without somebody writing an SEO is dead article, and that's just at the high-ish end. You know, I hate to think how many little companies out there are writing the same sort of thing. It must be every hour on the hour SEO dies somewhere.
That's probably the best headline to introduce changes and updates. You know, that's what they use just to get people to read. And going forward, like in the past few years, there hasn't been almost no one, apart from people maybe coming from social media, that start with that headline that goes then completely on the line of saying, "Oh, it's actually dead," but it's just a way to start conversation on what's new. So.
Yeah, well, it always has been one of those classic sort of link bait things. If I say SEO is dead, then there's a whole load of people who would like it to be true because they're selling something else that they don't understand SEO. The social media gurus would love SEO to be dead and for social media to be the new king. The people who are really into AdWords would love SEO to be dead because then you can only spend money with them. There's a lot of people who want it to be true, and they'll all sort of boost the story up. And of course, SEOs will still rise to the bait of that and still come in and say, "Don't be ridiculous," and "Look at what this idiot said," and provide links to it.
Mm.
Bill, it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, we resist most of these posts now, but every now and again, even you and I, who've been doing this, 20 years, we still do sometimes.
There's some things I want to see die, like PageRank. I think we would do better off without PageRank. And get rid of some of the really bad blog spam, comment spam, forum spam type stuff that happens because of PageRank.
So I'll just interject here. There's an interesting theory that Rob posted on the Bruce Clay blog a couple weeks back about if the new Penguin refresh that we're all waiting for actually gets rid of link spam. I kind of guess I'll let Rob explain here, but
I guess it's more wishful thinking. I mean, it's speculation really, but it would really solve a lot of our problems if the penalization behind inorganic links went away, right? If at the end of the day we were able to, if Google was able to determine which links had values and which didn't, and ignore the bad links, then things like negative SEO and a lot of the comment and forum spam that Bill is talking about would cease to exist, really, because there'd be no benefit to it, right? Google has such a great understanding semantically of related websites, related topics on all of these themes. Why can't they leverage that across links and determine which links should pass value based on how relevant they are to the subject that the page is about. And I think they do that to a degree already. I think in the local space, certainly, we see evidence of that already. But, you know, Google kind of created this monster when they penalized all of these sites, or actually when they rewarded them for building all of these horrible links, right? And then, of course, they had to build Penguin to kind of penalize that and try and get it in line. But if they were just able to ignore the links based on the fact that they have no value, that they are inorganic to the topic and to the site, we might be in a better place than we are now.
I think it's been true for years that Google's had the ability to ignore those links. And the fact that they're giving them value and then penalizing sites while giving them value is a mistake on Google's part, and a way to take a science that's advanced to a mature level and let it get decrepit and abusive. And there's no reason why people need to do things like disavow hundreds of domains pointing to their website, but they do.
There isn't, unless they've built most of those. Look, I've been in SEO quite a long time. Do you know how many things are listed in the disavow site for my main domain, AmmonJohns.com? 0. There is no disavow file. I've never needed one. I've never built an unnatural link. I've never bothered. I've never had to buy a link. I have done a few with content marketing, you know, doing guest post articles and things like that, but they were good articles on good article sites. Yeah, there have been sites that have scraped mine in the past. There have certainly been copies of my articles, you know, on scraper sites. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to disavow them. And you know what? It's not hurting me.
I added about 100 domains to my disavow file last year, because I had an additional 7 million or so links that I want to get rid of. Somebody had taken my template with links to pages on my site and added a bunch of fashion type stuff to the pages. You know, so pages were showing up on the web with my template linking, writing about things like Coach bags. And I said, it doesn't appear to be hurting me or rankings or traffic to my site, but I just don't like them linking to me, so I'm going to disavow them.
Mm-hmm.
But for local search, links have never played a role in rankings for local results ever. It's not part of the algorithm for how things rank in local search. Those are sort of proof of concept for the semantic web.
I thought there was still an authority factor, and of course authority is a derivative of the PageRank algorithm. So I thought there was still one. It's lesser. I think it's about the 8th, you know, criteria they're looking at, with proximity being, you know, number 1 to the center of the search. But I thought it was still there.
No, they've been using a location proximity type measure. How often are you mentioned? In how many places? How prevalent is it? So distance is important for ranking for local. Proximity is important, and how relevant your title is. And those are pretty much the 3 main ranking factors for local search.
And of course, in local, they use citations as well, obviously. So it doesn't even have to be a link; it could just be a mention, right? A mention on a site that's
what I meant by location proximity.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, these mentions on sites that are relevant to your geographic region are worth their weight in gold in the local space. So clearly, Google has the framework and the ability to ignore all of the garbage and really reward what's relevant based on their knowledge of the semantic relationship between all of these sites.
So how well would a web like that work, where you ignore the PageRank and base things upon semantic relevance? there's a paper that came out a couple months ago called Knowledge-Based Trust, where the team that had worked on the Knowledge Vault got together and wrote the paper talking about how they were going to rank higher sites that had more facts that were correct, and do the same type of thing with citations. That would be a semantic-based optimization.
Yeah, and I think it's a much better solution, right? There's such a punitive nature to Penguin and what they're doing to websites out there, and so many websites that didn't know any better and really got into trouble with the purchasing of links from SEOs who kind of misrepresented the truth and really the way they should have been doing it. And through no fault of their own at the end of the day. I guess maybe ignorance isn't an excuse, right? But at the end of the day, they trusted someone, they got them in trouble, and they've never been able to recover because of how infrequently Penguin refreshes. So, Google would be able to offer relief to all of these folks if they just ignored all the bad links and only rewarded the really relevant references.
I'll let John jump in a moment if he wants to, but one of the things that we remember
I'd love to hear from John on this. That'd be great.
From the old days is, the original Google quote was, who you link to, can harm you but can never help you, and who links to you can help you but can never harm you. And of course, the entire basis of needing disavows, of having a mechanism for it, is that Google had to admit that at some point who you link to can hurt them, and basically who links to you can hurt you.
And the Yahoo variation of that was something along the lines of good sites seldom link to bad sites, which was the basis of trust rank.
Yeah. So, John, we know that you aren't the person responsible for making all of these decisions, but is that one that, as a webmaster who just happens to work for Google, is that one that you ever think, I preferred it when it was simpler. I preferred it when Google was doing that calculation and saying, do you know what, this could be you manipulating, or it could be somebody else, and we're not going to penalise you for it, and then give you a way of opting out.
I don't know. I mean, those times have passed in the meantime. If you want to spin the wheel back, maybe saying like I preferred it before people were spamming Google like crazy, I don't know. Maybe that would be a good point to start. But it's always hard, I guess, when you're trying to optimize things and you think, oh, I can just optimize it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then suddenly you're going down the road of stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing, but it's working so well at the moment, so you just keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the bad neighborhoods thing, that was the start of the change, and that was 2004, 2005, somewhere around there was where basically linking into a bad neighborhood could be hurtful for you. That was when we started to use no-follow links.
Was that after Search King?
Sorry, Bill?
Was that after Search King, where the court in the case ruled that PageRank is a freedom of expression opinion?
Yeah.
I mean, the tricky part is, of course, when you look back that far, it's hard to differentiate between what Google was actually doing and what people externally believed Google was doing, because at least back then it was fairly quiet. We didn't really say that much, or at least the Google before I joined didn't really say that much. I think in the last couple of years that's really changed a bit. But at least back then it was a lot of, well, we think Google is doing this, and we can kind of guess it's doing this, or maybe Matt hinted at something on his blog at some point, but it wasn't really like a clear statement. You do this, and then we do that. Even with manual actions, when they were taken kind of taken it was like a black box. You didn't know that you had any kind of manual action on your site. You didn't know if you had to do anything, if you had to email someone at Google or to get that resolved. It was just like my site kind of disappeared in search. I have no idea what actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that much I will say. Google has got so much broader in its communication. It used to be that everything got channeled through either, one of the big three at some big event, or Matt Cutts. There were times when I felt like poor Matt Cutts must have felt like this puppet with everyone's hand up his back, because he seemed to be the only one that got to talk for Google. And whatever needed to come out in information, they kind of put it through Matt. Oh, you've got to tell people this. And I love the fact you've got the Webmaster Hangouts. I love the fact that we are seeing more people able to talk more about Google. I know there are still times when the legal department are, oh, should we, shouldn't we? Has this person been vetted? I think that's getting easier, though, isn't it? I think they are learning that, look, this person can be somebody who works for Google but isn't necessarily speaking for Google, which, is what we've always tried to point out to our audience. Look, that John is here because he's an old friend of ours who works at Google, but he's here because he's our friend, not because he works at Google.
That's always hard to draw the line, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was one of these cases this past week where somebody who's new at Google said something along the lines of local search results are influenced by clicks. And that sort of got retracted. We got told, no, it's not true. Now, we don't know for certain, and it's impossible for us to tell. We can't see behind the curtain. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I think to some degree it would help if they were, but there are people who send robots out who click on things. It does happen.
Yeah. I don't know what all goes on behind local. It's kind of separate from our point of view as well, because I think they're organized through maps mostly and through AdWords to some extent. So it's something where we say, well, it's not natural search, like not the normal 10 blue links or organic search. It's essentially some other group, and they might have different ranking algorithms. The ad side definitely has different ranking algorithms. They look at different factors. Sometimes they look at similar factors, but it's not something that we kind of mix, and we kind of stay out of each other's area just to make sure that we're not influencing each other artificially in any regard.
It's one of those things as well. I mean, Google's running so many experiments. Maybe he was right when he wrote it, but by the time it actually he hit the send button, it had changed again, and he had to retract it.
Well, I think one of the problems with going on record with something like that is the effect that it has on the industry, and the fact that people then instantly go out, and this is part of the problem with our industry, and try and manipulate things. So if Google was to confirm click-through rate is definitely a ranking signal, it would instantly be something that people would try and spam and sell, hey, I'm going to get you 5,000 clicks in the next week from different IPs, and we're going to generate a buzz and get you to move up the rankings. So it's definitely, Google's in a tough position there. I can't imagine that they're not using that data. It makes sense for them to, right? Especially when we're talking about building a SERP that works and building a better SERP, which is really their goal. The pogo sticking, which is something that we know is a horrible signal, right? Where someone from a SERP clicks through to a page, then hits the back button, picks another blue link, and goes to that page instead. That has to be a signal to Google, certainly something they know about when that happens, that the searcher wasn't finding what they were expecting to find maybe on that page.
It's one of those interesting ones where pogo sticking it's got different levels. I think there is a level at which it simply causes somebody to say, hey, look, this algorithm, we're getting a lot of return results. We're getting a lot more search. But you need to look on a case-by-case basis, because sometimes the query itself is going to show you this is somebody who's going to want to visit 4 or 5 sites to get a broad range of opinions, and there's other searches where, do you know what, they're obviously going to be after one site. If I type Amazon and I click on the first result and it's not Amazon, and I have to come back, you know, that's one where any pogoing is going to be a big deal unless I click on a result for the river, or unless I click on a result for history.
Right.
So some of this has got to be
the mythological race.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So some of that's got to be on a case-by-case basis, and this is something I always try and tell SEOs is, look, most of these things, they can't be as binary and as simple, because you're thinking of it in a particular context, but look at what Google's got to do, which is everybody, all over the world, all different kinds of languages, and you know that means that some of these signals that seem, from the example you're looking at, like, oh yeah, that'd be really simple and clear, wouldn't be at all when it's put into context of something used as widely as Google.
I mean, a lot of this is also something that makes sense on a very broad scale. When we're testing algorithms to see if this algorithm is working as intended, we can kind of turn it on and off and see how like millions of people react to that. And if we see in an experiment that really like millions of people click on number 2 instead of number 1, then probably that algorithm isn't as great as we thought it was. But on an individual level, that's like you said, that's, I don't know, really tricky.
I always think that some of it must be a bit like Moz's system, where they've got certain searches that they look at. There must be certain benchmark kind of searches that Google can use to say, yeah, this has made people have to do more clicks to get their results than ever before on previous algorithms, so it's not so good, and this one has increased the way that people go through there. And I imagine that there are certain benchmark ones rather than the Google are click tracking everything on every search, because that just wouldn't make any sense.
No, I mean, we definitely look at individual searches to kind of see how we're doing in general, and we'll track those searches over time to see how that actually works out. I mean, the fun part there is 15% of the searches we see every day are completely new. It's like we've never seen these queries before. We can't even prepare our algorithms for them. So it's something where you kind of have to guess at what people might come up with tomorrow, and what might become really popular tomorrow that nobody has searched for in the last month at all.
And rank
I went to a conference last year, Semantic Web conference, and the guy who was in charge of Yahoo's knowledge graph, yes, they have a knowledge graph, you put it together, was asked what happens when some type of unexpected thing takes place, like the leader of a country dies. How do you guys adjust your knowledge graph for that? And at that point he said, it's something that we get on the phone and we start calling people, and we update manually. And it's like, you know, you're pretty new at this. Yahoo just had a knowledge graph at that point for not too long. The King of Spain had issues. There's a Philip VII and Philip VI, and not sure what was going on there with who was in charge of the country. I think they weren't either.
Yeah. Some people think that, you know, those were different generations. Actually, no. For those who don't know, Spain just clone whoever their leader is, and they have 6 or 7 of them at any given time. It's a simple system.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I mean, the tricky part is also like vandalism, which we see a lot on Wikipedia, where we'll see someone like on some topic that's very politically active at the moment. People will go to Wikipedia page and say, oh, this guy's the president of the United States, or he's not the president anymore, he's the king. And on the one hand, we want to pick up stuff quickly. On the other hand, you have to make sure that you're not too fast, or that you kind of, I don't know how they do this internally, but that you kind of have to vet the information that you get from sources like that. You can't just say, well, it currently says Obama is the king of the United States, therefore we'll just change his title and knowledge graph everywhere. I don't think that would make sense.
I'm sure it's one of Trump's plans that if he does get in, he's going to change the term to emperor anyway. Isn't that one of these things where, you know, these fact-based algorithms have to change very quickly because, you know, the facts can change, and as they work through, there's got to be that very awkward period where some of the sites you say, yep, these ones are trustworthy, have updated, and some haven't, and there's that big conflict. And getting that turning point right, that's going to be years of work, isn't it?
I mean, that's something that I'm surprised SEOs don't watch over more. Like, there are elections that take place worldwide all the time, and it will be interesting to see like how knowledge graphs change, how quickly they react to election results, for example, where we know that a change is going to happen like at this specific time, but of course our algorithms, they don't know. They have to kind of react to that.
Yep.
That might be an interesting experiment for someone.
Yeah, but you know how paranoid some webmasters are. They'll figure Google's going to do it manually just to confuse us and make us think they're better.
Aren't you glad that no one's going to be leaving here and making an article? John Mueller said.
Oh wait, this is one of those that's recorded, right?
Exactly.
Oh yeah. So the article will find its way to the internet, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you're okay because this one does have bogus on the label, so you know. We have warned people.
Oh man.
We try to make the environment safe for you, John. We want to.
Kristin, you're very quiet. Can you just check it's got the right mic in your settings?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm on a tablet. So you didn't hear any of the funny stuff?
We can hear you, but it's like a different mic is picking you up from a different room.
Oh. Okay, well, okay, how is that? How's that? No. ABC. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it better or no?
That's better.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to minimize the sound by using headphones. Carry on.
Sure. So it's just Fab that's the odd one out now. We're picking on you, Fab. Obviously.
Yeah. I think my microphone works now, does it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, I was just chatting on my phone. My bad. Yeah. I'm back.
And John, you've jumped in late, John Moore. So hello, John. How are you? What have you been up to recently?
Okay. First, I'm on. Unmute myself.
Yeah.
You hear me now? Okay.
You look great too. I love your background. Like the camera is like it's so clear.
Yeah, I'm over at my daughter's house. They've turned the water off over on the farm, so we're camping out over here. And
is this a new house?
And I've got the whole family here.
Aww.
This is Juniper, the new French bull dog. And we've got two others on the floor here, but they're too big to pick up.
As a Monty Python fan, I immediately hear Juniper and think, he ate my juniper berries!
Here's one of the other ones. This is Winnie. This is Winnie. And Lulu is the other one, but Lulu's definitely too big.
And you get to name the pups.
Yeah, these are the pups. Now my granddaughter is floating around here somewhere. Maybe she'll come and visit in a few minutes and say hi too.
So is this the house that you were helping move into?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now this is the house that we painted the walls and painted the kitchen and all of that stuff. So yeah, this is where I'm at camping out today because there's no water at the house. So
there you go. See, he's a smart man, our John. He worked this out ages ago. One of these days, I'm going to have to, leave the farm while I've got the water off. I know. I'll make my daughter owe me a favour.
Well, see, what we do is we bought the house for our granddaughter so that my daughter and son-in-law can live in it, so we'd come and visit. It's all part of an evil plot.
Yeah, but grandchildren are the best part because
Oh yeah,
it's all the fun of children, but with the ability to hand them back.
Oh, definitely, it's really cool. I'm loving it. I'm spoiling her to death, and I don't have to feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
We've kind of covered a couple of things today in Virginia, covering the news, and then us talking about the things that don't change. Do you think, and anybody that wants to jump in here, do you think there are things that we've thought don't change up till now that might in the next 2 years? Do you think there is any big change on the horizon that is going to actually be a big shock even to the old timers?
I'm thinking that Apple is going to have a search engine, and it's going to challenge Google. I think that's going to happen within the next couple of years. I think we're seeing it with maps, and it'll go further than that to web pages.
Do you still have a social channel?
I think we'll see apps get further coverage, like Google's doing the deep app linking.
Yeah.
Apple might do the same type of thing.
Well, I do think there's definitely space out there for a mobile-only index, right? Right now, desktop ranking value kind of translate to mobile as long as you have tagging and the page is set up properly. There's maybe a need at this point for mobile pages to be indexed themselves, especially as people change the content on them to accommodate the mobile visitor. Google's kind of gone on record saying that responsive is their preferred method, and obviously that makes a lot of sense as far as resources go. They don't want to have to index every page twice, right? But certainly as mobile continues to evolve and becomes more of an emphasis, maybe having an index specifically of mobile pages and ranking those pages separate from desktop is something that could be on the horizon.
Yeah. I'm not completely convinced that mobile has to be the same as desktop, but displayed differently. I think sometimes with some sites, a mobile experience is going to be different, and they're going to plan around that.
I recently spent quite a lot of time on mobile, and particularly on like Google Now, Siri, and so on. And the main thing that came out of the time that I looked at it is there are two factors that what Siri and Google Now could become our own page in the future on mobile, in the same way we have in Google Now as home page. But these two, in order to be very functional, there are two elements. One is the personal assistant element that pretty much Siri can get right and so on, and the second element is the pure search, where Google has been playing for quite a long time. And the thing is, when it comes to pure search, the stuff that can be like a sort of knowledge graph that could be done through APIs and so on, and there are some company that got that even fairly right, but the pure exercise of doing web search traditionally as like crawling and getting good, and the time that the resources that Google has put into that in the past years, can they really pick it up so quickly? Because similar to maps, when they first rolled out maps, it took a while, but I think that for search is even more complicated. I don't know. That's I wouldn't bet 100% on other people to be as quick to pick up on that front. But yeah.
At this time of year, we kind of all get asked to do the old crystal ball gazing. What's coming for 2016. And one of the things that I was pointing out is that I think this is the year when people need to start being a bit more cautious with their data and owning that data and realizing the value in that data. And I think one of the big things is it's time to actually move a little bit away from responsive and push people towards using apps. And what I mean by push people towards using apps, I mean actually incentivize them. I mean discounts that you get for using apps. Treat the app as the new store card. or the new loyalty card. Discounts or points when people use the app, because if they're using the app, you've got so much more data on them. Because almost every app has a login. They are logged in. It's hard as hell to get anybody to log into your website until it's time to actually pay for something. But an app, people don't think twice about it.
Well, and then the app is tied to things like Facebook and Google, so it opens up opens up even more doors for data gathering.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the big things that I would say for this year. I don't know if it will be a trend otherwise. I'm seeing a few companies doing it, but definitely that's one of the trends I recommend people looking towards, is incentivizing apps, treating it as the new store card, treating it as something where the data that you get from it is worth it, and therefore it's worth giving customers a solid reason to use the app over a web browser. Use the app where they're logging in, where you've got that data, and where you can keep that data and not necessarily share it with so many third parties. And I mean, that's one of the big trends. The other trend, I've already been seeing it in the past year, but there are more and more companies that are starting to sell click rings. You know, we will influence your social. If user data is important, there are more and more companies that are now selling fake user data. You pay them a fee, and they will send professional users round to your site who will engage deeply. And
No.
seriously, I'm not kidding you here. There are, that I know of, a dozen or so agencies doing this, and they're quite big and they're quite serious.
Wow.
And none of them are going to do a damn thing for your site. It doesn't work.
But that's kind of old school. I mean, we had that like with Stumble Upon, and even before that, where you would buy like fake people clicking through to your site, or just buy. Yeah, it's like really old school stuff.
To influence Stumble Upon, yes, it got you a higher Stumble rating. But to think that it influences Google is, you know, people have said, oh, Google user click data, and now people have built services on things that people have said that Google have absolutely said in the past, we don't do it that way. We're not looking at likes, we're not looking at pluses, we're not looking at that kind of data in that kind of way. And despite that, these companies are setting up, and some people are paying them.
I think with regards to apps, another interesting trend is tying it in with local businesses. So things like recognizing when a customer that was on your website actually comes to your store, and being able to present them maybe a special deal when they come to your store because they were looking at a specific product when they were on your site, those kind of things. I think those are interesting trends. They kind of go into the topic of beacons, or just looking at the GPS information, I guess. But especially with beacons, that's easily done with an app. If they have your app installed, then you can kind of notify them when they're in range of a specific beacon, which it might be a part of your site, part of your business, physical location where they are somewhere. I think another really interesting trend that I don't know what will happen with it is what happens with all the people in India and Brazil, where I believe someone made a press release recently that said India is now the second largest internet population, or population active on the internet. They've passed the US. So there are essentially more Indian users active on the internet than there are US users. And of course, the first one on the list is China. And these are markets which traditionally, most of the websites that we talk about when it comes to SEO, all of that, they don't interact with China, with India. And maybe there are companies in India and China that are building up their user base based on this gigantic population that they have available, that will suddenly decide, well, maybe we could also do something English-speaking, or offer something that works in the US. And we have this really big website with really unique ideas, maybe, that suddenly appears in the US, or in our part of the internet.
I don't know if you've ever heard it, but you know, it's one of the things I've always said that has struck me about India is there is so many brilliant people there. There are some great universities putting out some world-class scientists in this field, and yet why isn't there an Indian Google that's kicking the pants of actual Google, or at least giving it a run for its money? And that's always struck me, and I think, yes, we will start to see this in the next couple of years. I've pulled up Peter's comment here, and he says that for him, conversational search will be the one that has the most growth in the next few years. This is something that Bill and I were talking about with Andre in the recent hangout, that the idea of the 10 blue links as the be-all and end-all of SEO, those days are gone, because now we got voice search, and I want one answer. Sometimes I might want 1, 2, or 3 options, but most of the time, if I'm asking one question, I want one answer. And we're going to, I think, start to see more shift away from that. And this is, very close to what you were saying, Bill. The idea that the mobile web could be completely separate from the desktop web, and I'd like to see that. I'd like to see more difference, more thought to the medium we're using. I'd really like to see Google starting to differentiate between desktop and tablet, because those two devices are very, very different. One of them is very difficult to type on.
Not if you have a Swift key.
or a shark. If you have a shark, it's okay.
Oh, I need to look into that. I don't know what that is.
It's a hard case that has its own keyboard, and you put it's very cool. It's worth it.
Except for the fact that you keep getting the fonts jumping it.
You're terrible. You're terrible.
Oh, you think I'm bad? Wait till you go through the comments and see some of obviously those jokes in the thread. There've been some classics.
It's interesting on the conversational search point. It's interesting to me that if you are asking a question and there is a definitive answer out there, Google has pretty much said that they're going to display it in the SERP, right? They're not going to send any traffic to a site because they're answering one question in particular. I think it has to do more with can you become an expert not only on that particular topic, but all of its accompanying topics, right? And become really kind of a resource that goes beyond just the question and answer part, because clearly if you're looking for an answer to any one question and Google can definitively identify from your query that that was your intent, then they're just going to give you the answer on the SERP and not send the traffic anywhere.
If the question is something like how tall is Barack Obama, or how tall is the Empire State Building, how many web pages do you really want to show people anyway?
I want the one that says it depends what he's standing on.
That's interesting. I had a session yesterday with Technology Society here in Zurich, and there were a bunch of professors there from the local university also. And that was kind of one of the questions that they asked. It's like, why is Google showing me any results? I mean, why doesn't it just give me the answer that I need? Which is kind of interesting when you see it from the user side and you compare it to what we hear from the webmasters, where they say, well, they should always be sending us traffic. But on the other hand, we also get contacted by sites that say, well, we don't really need traffic, we just need our information to be out. So that could be something like a support site, where if you're selling a new device and people are asking, how do I hook this up to my TV, you don't need people going to your support site for this information. If Google shows that information directly, then both sides are essentially happy. Mm-hmm. Which is something where I think just focusing on traffic is sometimes a little bit too simplistic.
I'd like to see the source bolded a little bit more, but I have noticed recently just how good search is getting at providing answers and then providing other questions, other related questions. I've been really impressed. If I had this when I was younger in college, I could have written some really great papers.
As ever, we will have this conversation carrying on in the green room probably for some time, but we are past time, and sadly we do have to end this broadcast while it's still sort of manageable for people. Thank you for joining us. Bill, say goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
John Moore. John Moo.
Bye.
Kristin.
Bye-bye.
Robert.
Bye-bye.
Stephanie.
Bye, everybody.
Virginia.
It's awesome being here. Thanks, guys.
And that's us out for this week. See you next time.